Hello. I want to talk today about cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome. A lot of people have probably heard about it, the weed sickness, and a lot of people online like to say that it's not real, but I definitely can attest that it is a very real thing, and I would like to share my personal experience with this. It started for me back in 2014. It is now 2019. And I saw a gastroenterologist because I was having some issues with my stomach, just like kind of heartburn and normal things. And I live in Washington, so weed is legal. At the time, it was just medically legal. So I got a green card, and at my doctor's suggestion, I already smoked weed, but then I started using it as medicine, thinking that it was making me feel better. Fast forward to August of 2015, I got extremely sick, and I was hospitalized for about 4 days, and they thought it was maybe pancreatitis or whatever, and it was not, but obviously I did not smoke when I was in the hospital, and then I felt better, and I continued to live my life and continue to smoke weed. Then I slowly started using more and more marijuana, and mostly due to a lot of negative self-image, I kind of used it to dull down my emotions and kind of zone out from the world I was living in. I was going through a lot of emotional abuse, and it was kind of my self-medication. Then I got sick probably 3 to 4 more times where I would have stomach pain and the cyclic vomiting, and I'd have to go to the hospital and get IVs because even though I wasn't eating anything, I was just retching and retching and retching and throwing up bile, and it's one of the most unpleasant experiences that you can possibly have as a human. Still, doctors are telling me that it's the weed and that I should stop smoking weed. And I'm like, no, there's no way. Weed is medicine and it's good for your stomach. And I just kept denying it. It got to the point where at the end of 2016, I saw a gastroenterologist again and went through every test you could possibly have. I've had 2 endoscopies, a colonoscopy, a barium swallow, an MRI, a CT scan, multiple ultrasounds, an x-ray, and a gastric emptying study. I don't have Crohn's, I don't have celiac, I don't have ulcerative colitis. There was nothing. Everything was turned up fine. And I was like, this is madness. And my doctor finally, I think, got fed up and was like, you have gastroparesis, which is where your brain doesn't communicate with your stomach the right way. And a lot of people who have been diagnosed with that end up having to get feeding tubes. So I went to a gastroparesis specialist, and he was like, you don't have this. And I had to start all over. So at that point, I kind of gave up, and things in my life started to get worse. It kind of evolved into a regular sickness. I would wake up every morning with horrible stomach pain. A big thing, too, is the only way that I found relief from this was by taking hot showers and baths. And it drives everyone in my life nuts because a normal person doesn't take multiple showers and baths in a day. I mean, maybe one in the morning and one at night, but it was extreme. And so then I started dabbing. So the weed wasn't enough for me anymore, and I switched to oil. And it started to get worse. I would constantly have stomach pain. I'd randomly throw up. I would get so sick. I was affecting my job in every area of my life. Fast forward to 2019, I am just at my wit's end, and I'm still just sick on kind of like a daily basis. I couldn't keep things down. The stomach pain is insane. Wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning with it felt like someone was scraping out my stomach with a melon baller, and it almost was like unbearable. So I'd wake up at like 5 o'clock in the morning with stomach pain, take a shower, go back to sleep. I'd wake up at 8 o'clock with the stomach pain, take a shower. It was ridiculous. And on top of that, going to the bathroom was an unpleasant experience. I don't need to expand on that too much, but everything about my digestive system was just completely fucked. So I made the decision to try to move away from Washington and to move to somewhere where weed was less accessible. And I quit smoking weed, and in that week that I was in Arizona, I was the sickest I've ever been. Basically because my body had depended on weed for so long that it didn't know what to do without it. It was like going through heroin withdrawal. I've seen people in my life go through that, and that is what it seemed like. Even at the hospital in Arizona, they tested my blood because they thought there's no way this girl is just smoking weed. But I was just smoking weed, and I ended up coming back to Washington where my health care was, and I went to the hospital, and I was so anxious and depressed and at such a bad point in my life, and I was admitted to the behavioral health unit, and I spent 12 days there. And at this point now, I have been clean off marijuana for a month, and I can't express the difference that it's made in my life. I finally accepted, like, your body is allergic to weed, and maybe this doesn't happen to everybody, but it happens to me, so you have to stop. And I can't remember the last time before this past week that I was able to eat, like, chips and salsa, or go over to a friend's house and be able to spend the night because I was so afraid that I'd wake up with stomach pain in the morning. I used to not be able to go out to eat because I'd get such bad anxiety from thinking I was going to get sick. And so it's very real, and it doesn't affect everybody by any means. But if you're somebody who is struggling with stomach issues and you self-medicate with marijuana, and someone tells you that that's probably what's wrong with you, listen to them, because for the past, 4 or 5 years, I've put myself through living hell, and I could have avoided it. I could have stopped smoking a long time ago, but, weed is quote-unquote not addictive, and maybe it doesn't have addictive properties to it, but your body can start to rely on it, and I can feel my body changing, and, my brain is clear, and it feels amazing. I never thought that I would have the strength to quit smoking weed, especially in a state where it is really like the culture, but here I am, and hopefully I can stay clean and be able to keep making healthy changes in my life. But I just want to express, if this is something that someone has told you in the past and you're kind of struggling with it like me and denying it, it is real. And you can look up all the science behind it. Your cannabinoid receptors, most of them are in your stomach, and I feel like it's just this thing where they just get overloaded and they kind of flip on you. It might work for some people. I know a lot of people use marijuana to be able to eat and things like that, but if you think that you might have it, you probably do, and you should stop smoking. I'm not against marijuana at all, it just doesn't work for my body anymore, and I'm on different medication that helps my body and my brain, and it's been life-changing, and it's taken me almost 5 years to accept this, so it's definitely not easy, but it can be done. So thank you for listening to my story. I don't even know if I'll end up really posting this on the internet, but I just wanted to get it out there in the world. Okay, have a good day, everybody.